And hello, today we'll be looking at algebra brackets and indices. So I'll be doing a little refresher on what exactly indices are, or powers as you might have known them. And then we'll be looking at algebra and brackets and how do we use brackets with algebra and what exactly do they mean. So we'll get stuck into it. We have indices or powers. And what are they exactly? Well, let's say we had 5 times 5. We can write that as 5 to the power of something. So in this case, I won't tell you what it is yet, but it's a. And we write it as a little small number kind of up above 5 or whatever number we're using. So in this case, we're using 2. So 2 times 2 times 2 would be 2 to the power of some other little number over here. Now, you should already be able to answer this. If you can't answer this, question, then you might have to revise indices or powers. But the answer would be to this one is 5 squared. Now, why is it, or to the power of 2? And why is it to the power of 2? Well, 5 is multiplying by itself 2 times. And in this case, with the 2, it would be 2 times 2 times 2. It's multiplying by itself 3 times. So it would be 2 cubed. Now, it's important to note 5 squared is not 5 times 2, and 2 cubed is not 2 times 3. It just means how many times we're multiplying 5 by itself. And what that little number is called the index or power. So 5 times 5, we're multiplying it by itself twice, so it would be 5 squared. 2 times 2 times 2, it would be 2 cubed. If we multiplied it by another 2, it would be 2 to the power of 4. And that's what indices mean. It just means how many times we're multiplying this big number by itself. What about algebra then? Let's say we had a times a. Well, what would that be? Would it be a to the power of what? Or what about y times y times y? Well, what would that be? Well, luckily, it's just like regular constants. If we have a variable times itself, so in this case a times a, we can just write that as a squared. Similar to the previous example over here, where was it 5? Yeah, it's exactly the same idea. A times a would be a squared. What about this guy? Well, y times y times y, they're all y's and they're multiplying by themselves. How many times? 1, 2, 3. So it'd be y cubed. So again, we look at how many times the variable is multiplying by itself. So in this case, it's twice, so it would be squared. And in this case, it's 3 times, so it would be to the power of 3. What about this? How would we do this? 2a times a. And then we have 3y times 2y. Well, first, let's just think what's different in this case. Well, we have these numbers in front of the variables. Those are coefficients. So you might remember them from a previous lesson. Coefficients. So they're the numbers that are in front of the variable. And that's the exact same thing as 2 multiplied by a, or 3 multiplied by y, and 2 times y. That's what that means. Now it's important to remember that word, coefficients, and because sometimes that word comes up in questions. And remember that it's just 2 multiplied by a, or 3 multiplied by y. And then we just have the variables themselves. So we have a, y, y, and y. So how will we do this? Well, let's just look at the variables first. Forget the coefficients. If I had a times a, that's a squared. Y times y times y, well, that'll be y cubed. Then let's look at the coefficients in front. So 2, what's the number in front of this a? Well, remember, if we write a, it's just 1a. So a by itself is just 1a. So what's 2 times 1? Well, that's going to be 2. What about 3? Now, what's the number in front of this y that we don't write? It's 1. So 3 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 2, that's going to be 6. So my final answer would be 2a squared for 2a times a, and this would be 6y cubed. So when you're multiplying these out, just first multiply your variables. So forget about the coefficients in front. Just say, what's a times a? What's y times y times y? How many times are we multiplying the variable by itself? Then you look at, okay, what about the numbers in front, the coefficients? How, if we multiply them all together, what do we get? Then we just combine them at the end. So in this case, it would be 6 multiplied by y cubed, 2 multiplied by a squared. You're not adding them. It's not 2 plus a squared. There's all multiplication going on here. And that's how we do multiplying different terms together, and if they have coefficients as well. Okay, brackets. Sometimes you'll see this. 2, then a big bracket, x plus 1 minus 4x bracket, 5x minus x bracket. Now, what does all that mean? Yeah, so like what is the point of putting a bracket? What does that actually mean? Well, what it actually means is 2 multiplied by everything in this bracket minus 4x times everything in this bracket. So the brackets just mean multiply. So 2 and then a big bracket just means multiply. And then fair enough, this looks awful, minus 4x, but you just multiply into this bracket. So another example you might see is this, 2x brackets, 9x. Well, that just means 2x multiplied by 9x. Now, how would we do this? Remember, do your variables first. So what's x by x? That's x squared. Then you do your coefficients. What's 2 times 9? That's 18. So the answer would be 18x squared. Now, how do we do the big brackets, though? These are nice and easy brackets beside each other. We have an x plus 1 in here. This is a lot more complicated than just 9x. Well, let's just break it down. 2x plus 1 minus 4x, 5 minus x. Well, that's the same thing as 2 times x plus 1, and then we're multiplying. I said that in the previous slide. So how do we do that? What we do is we just say, okay, what's 2 multiplied by x? So you look outside, what are we multiplying 2 by, and you pick out every bit inside the bracket. So first off, I'm going to do 2 by x. That's 2x. Then I'm going to do 2 by the second bit in the bracket. So that's 2 by 1. Well, that's just going to be 2. Yeah? Okay, that's that bracket done. I'm going to look at this bracket. What's minus 4x multiplied by 5? So minus 4x times 5. So there's no x. Yeah? There's no 5x. It's just 5. So what's 5 multiplied by minus 4? Well, that's going to be minus 20x. Then what's minus 4x multiplied by minus x? Now be super careful. Okay, first off, do your x's. X by x, that's x squared. So it's going to be x squared. That's your indices. Then I have minus 4 multiplied by minus 1. Remember, there's a minus 1 over here. So what's minus by a minus? Well, it's going to be a plus. So it's plus 4x squared. So I'll say it again. What I did was I just looked, okay, it's 2 multiplied by the bracket. Then I do 2 by the first thing, 2 by the second thing. Then I'm going over to this bracket. I have minus 4 times bracket, minus 4x times bracket, minus 4x by the first thing, minus 4x by the second thing. Then I get all these answers at the bottom. So what am I going to do? Well, you just combine them. So I have 2x plus 2 minus 20x plus 4x squared. Now, is there anything I can do down here? Can I simplify this anymore? Thinking back, I have 2 with your expressions. I have 4x squared, I have 20x, and I have 2x. I can do something with the x's. Because 2x minus 20x, well, what's that going to be equal to? It's 18x. So I have 2 plus 4x squared. Can't do anything with that. They're their own thing. Minus 18x. Now, remember, x squared and x are different things. The variable has to be the same if you're adding and subtraction. So 2 plus 4x squared minus 18x will be my final answer. If I multiply out these brackets or simplify the brackets, there are some words that you might come across. So this is really important to remember these steps. First, you write down, okay, 2 by this bracket, that's 2 multiplying. Then I say, okay, 2 by the first thing, 2 by the second thing. Write them down. Then I go to the second bracket and I do them. Okay, here's some recap questions so you can try them out. So, first one. A lot going on, but let's do it. 3x bracket this minus 2 bracket and then this. So these are multiplying, remember? So I'm going to look at, forget about the second bracket for a second. I'm going to look at this section over here. 3x multiplying first bit. So what's 3x by x? First you do your variables. So x by x, that's x squared. 3 by 1, that's 3. So I have 3x squared. 3x to the second part of the bracket. 3x multiplied by 6. Okay, there's no variable here, so I don't have to worry about any indices. What about the coefficients? So 3 by 6, that's 18x. So this first bracket, when I multiply the 3x in, I get 3x squared plus 18x. Okay, second bracket. Minus 2 by minus 2x. So first off, is there any variable powers? No, because there's just x and there's no variable over here. So what's minus 2 by minus 2? Well, it'll be plus 4x. So remember there's an x here, so x. Okay, what about minus 2 by 8? Well, what's that going to be? Oh, I actually made a mistake there. That shouldn't be 8. Minus 2 by 8. Well, that's going to be minus 16. Okay, so that's actually wrong. Don't listen to that. That's minus 16. Okay, so then I add this all together. So 3x squared plus 18x plus 4x minus 16. So 3x squared. Now I can add the 18x and the 4x together. So that's going to be 22x. Now, be careful, that's wrong. That should be minus 16. So 3x squared plus 22x minus 16 would be the final answer there. Okay, what about find the area of this shape in terms of x? So how do I find the area of a rectangle? It's the length by the width. So that's the same thing as 2x multiplied by x plus 7, which is just 2x bracket x plus 7. So how do I do that? 2x by x, that's 2x squared, because x by x is x squared. 2 by 1 is 2. 2x by 7, there's no x here, so I don't have to worry about variables. And I made another mistake. Oh my god, I'm making all the mistakes here. 2x by 7, that should be 14x. So just two mistakes in this final slide. That should be minus 16, that should be 14x.